try to be short. So first, just a word to say that what I will present is taken from a report to the Prime Minister, the French Prime Minister, which I was, and that it was a work done with.
Click on the screen.
Oh yes. And other way, yes. This way. Try it again. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was work involving about 100 experts from all the administration, think tanks, economic, OECD, or so on, and we did one report and a dozen thematic reports. And it was also very strongly articulated with the preparation of the new national low carbon strategy, which underway has been announced so very recently in France. And it was a bottom-up approach, but I'll come back to that. So what I will try to say is about the cost of transition. Why are there costs? How much? And who will pay? How we can finance it? So why are there costs? The transition to net zero is an industrial revolution. This is just to illustrate something that has been said before. It's not the first time we're changing the energy source, but we do that much more rapidly. This is the energy mix, the world energy mix from 1800 to 2050. And we've changed from biomass to coal, etc. But if you look at the right side of the chart, you see that we will have to go to renewable energies much more rapidly than what we've done in the past. But the important thing is that it's twice as fast as the previous industrial revolution. But another important difference is that it's driven by public policy, de facto, not because we like public policy, but because we've decided to reduce emissions. It's not driven initially by technological innovation, as was the case for the previous industrial revolutions. So technological progress is not what drives the change in industry. And economically, there are three main mechanisms. The first one is redirecting technical progress from brown to green. That's what will lead and leads to decline in the cost of renewable that we can see here. The cost of producing electricity by renewables has declined very dramatically in the past. And if it goes on in the future, we can hope, maybe, that's a discussion we had in the first panel, that an economy without fossil fuel won't be more expensive or less efficient than an economy with fossil fuels. That's the first channel. But if we focus on 2030, this won't do much of the job by 2030. The second channel, the second mechanism is efficiency. Efficiency is, we've defined it as reducing energy consumption over and above what would result from energy efficiency gains. We can come back to that, but I won't develop here. When you look at the reduction in emissions by 2030 that we have to do, this will do 15–20% of the job, not more. And the main channel, the main mechanism is investment. It's investing to replace fossil fuels. It's building solar panel, solar energy. It's also renovating houses and buildings. It's also investing in electric cars. All these are investments that are just done to replace fossil fuels. So it's very capital intensive. That will be the main level when you really look at the way we're going to reduce emissions by 2030. What happened? Sorry, it's my fault. This is a graph that it shows it's from the Climate Change Committee. It goes back to a discussion we had in the previous panel. You have on the on the upper side of the graph, in blue, the increase in investment is CapEx. All the investment we have to do in the transport sector, in the building sector, in the energy sector to decarbonize. And below, in orange, you have the debate we had before, you have the reduction in operating costs. Because in some cases, energy spend the operating costs from renewables are more. Electric vehicles cost too much less in terms of yes. Then nicely. So we may have, assuming that energy prices are consistent with these assumptions, we may have a reduction in operating costs. But if you look at the horizon of 2030, this reduction in operating costs will be very slow. And if you just stop in 2030, you mostly have to finance huge investment with reduction in operating costs that will come later. That's part of the issue. And these investments that we're doing, they're very specific. So we've tried to, and I can come to how much. Because usually we invest to increase capacity, to produce more, which makes us collectively richer, or to increase labor productivity, which allows us to produce cheaper, and also become collectively richer. In this case, we just invest to replace fossil fuel. And when we replace gas boiler with a heat pump, we're not better off in any way. It's just more expensive at the beginning. Maybe in some cases we will have lower energy costs, but at first it's not the reason why we're doing it. We're doing it because we're obliged to do it sometimes, because there's a regulation banning new ICE cars, and that's really something important. So if we finance these investments by diverting investments that are productive, then we will have an impact, we may have a negative impact on productivity growth over the transition period that you've tried to estimate, and that's about the quarter point of labor productivity. So how much? What we've done for France is looking sector by sector. We need to reduce emissions by about 150 billion tons by 2030, and we've put first in the different administrations and everywhere how much in the building sector, how much the transportation sector, how much the energy sector, etc. And what were the measures that will achieve these reductions very concretely? How will we reduce emissions by, let's say, 40 billion tons in the building sector? And we looked at what it implies, for example, in the building sector, homes. The main levers are replacing fuel boilers and gas boilers with heating pumps. And there are 3 million today fuel boilers. There's a ban on the installation of new fuel boilers in France, so it's already, this measure exists. So people have to replace them with something else. And it turned out that heating pumps are a bit more expensive than gas boilers. And what we've done is really multiply the number of year after year, counting bins, like also said. And there's 3 million heating pumps that start to be installed and are more costly. And the difference between the cost of gas boilers and heating pumps, that is what is the increase in investment, this additional investment. That's what we're counting. And we've done that very concretely. It's a very bottom-up approach. The number of electric cars that we'll have to replace. So we have some strange things because, for example, on electric vehicles, we have something negative. How do we have a negative figure? Because in the transition scenario, people are buying a larger share of electric vehicles, but they're also moving less. So they're buying less vehicles overall. So even though they're buying more electric vehicles, which are more expensive, the total money they spend on vehicles is lower. But what we see here, basically, so we come up to 60 to 70 billion euros annually by 2030. That's about 2% of GDP. That's for everyone, every year. That's for everyone, private, public, households, firms, state. And what is interesting is that we have the decomposition, and when we see it's very concrete. So that has been done with you can discuss the assumptions. There are assumptions. You can choose other assumptions and come up with other figures. At least we know what we're talking about. And then an important point of the social acceptability is that the climate transition is very much a source of inequality. I just show you this. It's very basic. It's the cost of house renovation, changing the heating system, the heating pump, and EV. And it's divided by the annual income of the modest households, first column, and middle class households. And what you see, if we just look at the last column, is that even for the middle class, an EV is more than 1 year income, and renovating the home and changing the boiler is again more than 1 year income. So if you ask the middle class household to decarbonate this it's more overall than 2 year annual income. For the low income household, it's 4 years or more. So there's a financing issue. Even if in the longer term they may have lower spending bills, lower energy bills, they have to disburse this, and they won't be able to disburse this. There's no public support. That's what you said on our bill, actually. So the fiscal impact, when we come to it, no double dividends, obviously. The public finance will have to share part of this individual investment. So we've done the distribution between public and private, line by line, same way. For public banking, it's public. It's not a private that will finance the innovation of public buildings. For private buildings, it's mostly private, and we have a can be discussed today. So we come out with the fact that about half of the 2 percentage points of GDP will have to be public, and this has an impact on debt. And maybe I stop.